You're just spearing out everything you're sharing. He went through it. Almost messed up his marriage, almost like just a lot. Once he was able to kind of navigate and shift things, manage it, I want to help others understand like you don't have to be burned
with burnout, because so many coaches that I'm working with,
it's therapeutic.
Yeah. Hey, you guys, and welcome back to another amazing episode of Behind the Door. And I'm so excited for the guests, but I'm even more excited for you guys as coaches, because when we're coming in, as you guys know, the platform is about actually making sure sports leaders and coaches are seen, heard, and supported. And this dynamic lady is definitely going to give you guys some game on what it means to lead, but a lead from an emotional standpoint. So I'm not going to keep going on. I always ask my guests, though, every time they come on. So, Miss Shanine, Queen, how are you? How are you feeling?
Hey, I am feeling great. I'm blessed, glad to be alive, and glad to be on this podcast with you today.
Yes, I am so excited to have her. She's just an amazing person inside and out. And one of the biggest things that really connect us is just our love and heart for people and helping people. And she do so much, from educator, book, author, also emotional intelligent literacy, which she'll talk about all that. But I'm gonna let you introduce yourself, kind of tell the people a little bit about what you do. Jump right into of why you started doing this form of work.
Okay, awesome. So thank you again for having me. So Lacey Young, and what I do is pretty much I help experts, I help professionals really just use their voice, make an impact, of course, show up confidently in the world, right? So I love to work with students. My background is in education. I used to be how many years? It's been about 8 years, right? I used to be an English teacher in Florida. I'm originally from Florida. So what I do, right, and I use my experience as an author and helping people become authors. I use that experience to be able to help students, to help leaders be more emotionally intelligent, right? So pretty much I'm an emotional literacy specialist, and I help build emotionally intelligent children and leaders.
Yeah.
Because being able to manage your emotions, right? Being able to clearly articulate and express that, it starts from a young age. And if you don't have that down pat when you're a little kid, it's hard to navigate that as an adult, right? And I'm sure you agree with that.
Most definitely, most definitely. That's one of the biggest, and I'm gonna say older we have gotten, because everybody on here, I'm sure you guys, a little bit older, but we understand more of how emotional intelligence is playing such a big role, especially with AI being such a big thing, and with sports, we'll say AI with NIL and all those things. Like, you
Mm,
still need those soft, tangible skills, because if you can't communicate and relate to people, I don't care what you can do behind a camera or behind a screen. When you come out into the real world, it's a
mm.
whole different spotlight. It's a whole different light. So I guess from your standpoint, if you can say what is or how do you actually define emotional literacy or emotional intelligence so people can understand it?
Yeah, so pretty much what the way I look at it is being able to know how to assess your own emotions and regulate them, and also be able to understand the world around you, be able to understand others, right? Because sometimes, and I think the more you grow in your emotional literacy and you kind of understand different things, people are triggered by different things. People say different things for different reasons. But when you can kind of understand, like, maybe they're coming from a place, like maybe they're not angry, they might just be frustrated that they couldn't get this concept, right? Especially those in education. So when you are able to kind of understand, like, okay, this is how they process things, and then you're able to not just respond in a way where it's like, okay, maybe I should have took a second to pause, right? You're able to kind of regulate. I think you can move throughout life better because when you're able to manage yourself and you're able to look beyond just like what you see on, you might see a student throw something or do something, and then it's like, but no, like, take a second, manage your own emotions so you don't match theirs, right? And then be able to navigate the situation better, right? So really, that's what it's really all about. And I think that's a skill that we can continue to learn and grow in until we leave this earth, right?
Most definitely. Especially as an adult, I think, as I said again, the older you get, the more triggers you find out that you've had, especially as a little kid. And if it's not dealt with, it
Mm.
continues to grow and grow. So we're always learning from that. And from your aspect, educational wise, and being around youth, what happens when a coach or a leader do not understand or express emotional intelligence when they don't lead with it?
It's hard for, whether you are working with, students, other professionals, it's hard for you to even be able to effectively communicate with them, right? So they might they might not even be able to like want to hear what you have to say, right? If you have no emotional intelligence, because maybe you're just spearing out, you're not regulating yourself, you're not taking a second, no, let me pause, right? You're If you're not speaking to them in a way that they understand. But when you have those skills and you can kind of say, okay, you know what, let me pause, because I know this person, I'm going to, especially in leadership, as coaches, and even in corporate as well, like you have to know how to deal with people, right? You have to know how to speak, you have to know how to communicate, or things will either go over their head, or they'll just like put up a barrier, a wall, and they won't be receptive, right? And even just in the classroom with students, I've noticed that as well. And I just want to share, the other day I was with my daughter, and she was kind of getting frustrated. She was trying to do a task. And I always teach her different skills on how to just manage her emotions, how to just like, okay, it's not the end of the world, even though they think it is, especially when they're young. They think it's the end of the world. And she did something before she kind of got upset or yelled or whatever. She literally took her time. She went to the room. I was like, what's she doing? She went to the room, talked to herself, what she did, whatever she did to do to calm down. She was out literally within a few seconds. She was like,
Oh,
okay, I'm better now, right? And it was just like, wow, that was like a proud moment for me, because I was just like, she's actually learning how, because that was an issue she had in the past, just not knowing how to manage her emotions, right? So I think
yeah.
it's so important to start from young, because when you're a coach, when you're leading, you'll be able to better communicate with people, right? Having these skills.
And shout out to her for being able to do that and recognize that. Man, what if more adults, if we did that before we got to that next level, that we actually said, let me go walk out, or let me pause for a minute. Let me think about this before I say this to my partner or my friend or something. Let me see first and come back and say, hey, with a smile. Now I'm ready to talk to you. How much better that can be. And
Ooh.
going into the next thing also, we stand on this upward as we're going. How would you say this can help with burnout? Because so many coaches that I'm working with, and I was a coach that also burnt out. So that's why I love the work that I'm doing of helping them find strategies and ways. So
Mhm.
how would this help them prevent the burnout and overwhelm if they started mastering or understanding this?
I would say, I think recognizing, so like a part of emotional intelligence, the first thing is like, if you notice there's certain tasks or certain things, or when you're in a certain place, like, okay, I can't function well, right? Because maybe I'm stressed up, this, I have 10 things on my plate. Oh, we got a game, we got this, I have to prepare for this. I think sometimes pausing, as we just said, pausing and understanding and sitting in those feelings, like, how am I feeling? I'm feeling a little overwhelmed because I got this, I got this, I got this. So when you're able to kind of sit down and pause and really come from that with a clear mind, then you're able to better assess your situation. You're able to, come up with a better plan so that you can actually reduce that burnout. So you can be like, okay, I know I can think of 100 things I got to do, but what's the top three that's on the list right now, right? But if you're unable to manage your emotions, if you're just moving like, whoo, you're just moving too fast and you're getting too flustered and you're getting stressed and you're just getting overwhelmed, the burnout is going to take an even bigger toll on you. And it's going to be a little hard to navigate it, because like, it's like it's one thing if you have a lot of tasks, you got a lot of things on your plate, but it's another thing to when it feels like it's a lot, if you understand what I'm saying. So
Yeah.
it's not like it changes, right? But you coming in with a level mind, with clear head, you're able to navigate it better, and you don't feel burnt out. You don't feel stressed. You don't feel overwhelmed, because you're looking at it differently and you're actually moving with a little more intention, because you paused and reflected and like, okay, you know what? Maybe this is not that important. It is, but I'm gonna do this first, and I'm just gonna take it one step at a time.
I love that you mentioned that, the feeling of it, because sometimes we do hear the word burnout and it's become more repetitious, even
Mm,
though it is real, but you hear a lot of people say it. And I think more culturally, it's repetitious for us because we don't recognize or we don't understand it. Because we're
mm.
so used to doing and doing and going. But like you said, you can feel it. That feeling is the heaviness. The feeling is that pain or that tension. You're like, where's this coming from? In my back, in my neck? Because it's heavy on you. So it don't have to always be the work piled up. It can be just that feeling of just
Mm.
being overwhelmed. So once a person recognizes that feeling and understand, I need to pause. I need to look at my test. One of the things that you are great at is helping people find their voice too. And that's through your work and books. So how can a coach or a leader come back and find a voice after they went through this burnout, after they went through this tension, and they're saying, okay, I need to find my voice. I need to find out who I am, and I need to let the world know who I am. Like, how do they do that?
It's crazy that you asked that because I've actually walked a client. Well, I've walked several clients through it, but specifically in this arena, I have a client. He is actually an athletic coach, and everything you're sharing, he went through it.
Mm-hmm.
Almost like a lot of the weight that was on his shoulder from coaching, from leading the students, like he was winning championships, doing all this stuff. He found himself unfulfilled, right? So now, once he was able to kind of navigate and shift things, manage his emotions, figure out like what he wants to do, and get that clarity and understand, like, you know what, okay, there has to be some type of balance. What he did was he reached out and he created a actual workbook, right? So I allowed him to lean into the power of his voice. Like he understands now I have a message because I went through this. I want to help others understand like you don't have to be burnt out. You could still build successful athletic programs, and you could still be a good husband, a good wife. You could still, you could still have that balance in life, right? So he created a workbook. It's also like a journal slash devotional, and he uses scripture, uses different stories and insights to help people that's applicable to like
Yeah.
coaches, right, especially in the athletic field. So really just what I love to do is help you look at your past experience, help you look at your story, help you look at your expertise, what you know, right, and use your voice and come from a place of authenticity, right? And you can use that to create different published works. You can use it to create books, workbooks, journals, because it's already in you, right? So I just help you get it out.
Come on, help them get it out. And from your experience, what would you say? Because I know some coaches and sports leaders are listening and saying, okay, we went through all this and now she's talking about books and writing, but how does that actually still emotionally help you writing and journaling? And I know you've been a teacher, you do it all the time, and now you have some amazing kids, your babies have books and everything, but how does that make a person feel? How can that help? Because a lot of people don't understand the aspect of journaling is self-care too, and self-awareness.
Mm. It's therapeutic.
Yeah.
Journaling is therapeutic. So whether you are creating a journal, as you're creating, you're going through the process yourself, or you're using a journal yourself to write down your own thoughts, to write down like, you know what, this is how I felt today. It's so therapeutic because you can look back at a past journal entry and be like, man, I remember when I wrote this, I thought this was the end of the world. I thought I didn't know how it's gonna come out, right? And you look at it 2 weeks or even a year later, and you're just like, what? I overcame that. Like, man, let me just keep going, right? And you're able to reflect. I did that recently. I think I shared I was like, man, my life is completely different right now. But sometimes when you're in the middle of something, especially if it's a difficult season, you journaling can help you like get through that, right? Even if you write down one thing you're grateful for every day, that's something you can do, right? If you're feeling like overwhelmed, or if you're like, man, what is going right? Journaling is a powerful therapeutic exercise you can use.
And what would you say the mindset shift a leader must have to actually get to this moment of understanding emotions and now being able to put those emotions on paper too?
Mm. I think the mindset shift would be a few things. Maybe like really understanding you're not in this alone. Understanding that there are other people that have gone through maybe similar experiences, right? And then knowing that everything that you've gone through, it's not for yourself, right? Your story, your message, you're like, you are called to impact so many people. Whether you think, oh, it's not that important, yes, it is. If for you listening, it is important, right? So the mindset shift needs to be like, my voice matters, my experience matters, the things that I've gone through, the difficult times, the highs and lows, it's important, and it's shaping me into who I am becoming, the better version of myself.
I love it. Y'all see how calm she say everything. It's just one of those where she write books and help people with books. She's so calm and like it's an auto version coming out. I'm like, oh man. Also asking that as we gear information and what we're just talking about, but what's one emotional literacy tool that you would like to leave the audience with? Like, what is one play that they can leave and say, you know what, I got this information and I can actually take this and use with me daily?
Yeah, definitely, man. I feel like it's a lot, but I feel like I don't know why journaling is my honestly my favorite. I feel like if you do not have a journal, you have a notebook, something where you can write down, like you can track by dates, you can write accomplishments, right? So whatever, if there's a new task you're working on, there's a new goal that you're setting to reach, like tracking that, like that's powerful. And then even tracking your emotions in that process. How are you feeling? And think about the future emotions that you're going to have when you achieve that result, when you achieve that goal. That's something that can really shift your mindset. That's something that can propel you to keep moving forward, right? As it may be difficult sometimes, right? But seeing like, man, this is a mini accomplishment. I've done this. Okay, cool. I did this. You're actually seeing yourself going in the right direction as you're journaling, as you're writing those things down. That's truly powerful. And that will help you get to where you are trying to be and just help you understand the emotions you had in that moment. And as you're navigating, like, man, my emotions, I used to feel a little stressed. I used to feel worried when I was, but now, I'm feeling a little calm. I'm feeling a little more confident. Now I'm excited because I've actually reached this goal that I've been aiming for. So I think helping you track that whole process is a powerful journey in itself and a powerful emotional literacy tool that you can
I
use.
love that tracking emotions, man. That you definitely gave me an ideal on that. And as more questions, I said we're gearing to the end, you guys. But I want another thing I thought about is we tell people to journal, we ask them to journal, and we know because I do it and you do it. But how much time does it take? Because again, we talking about coaches. Coaches looking at this and said, okay, that's cute. But I work 9 to 5. Plus, we got practice at 8:30 and 9 o'clock. Because that was me when I was that coach. So,
Mm.
how much time does one have to put in to reach this level emotionally?
That's a good question. Listen, you do not need an hour to do this. You do if you got 5 minutes, 10 minutes, if during your lunch break you could pull that thing out. Okay, cool. Let me sit down. Let me be intentional. Let me write. Let me write this out. I'm just thinking. Even when I was in the classroom, we
Mhm.
would have like I think it was like do now time. It was like 5 to 10 minutes, and some of those times it was dedicated for them to journal. It was dedicated for them to journal. So it does not have to be where I got to dedicate a whole hour, 45 minutes. Like you could start small. Even if you just focus on writing down one or two things during that little 5 minutes you have, that's something. And as you continue to progress and it becomes just like how you start a habit. At first it's kind of like, okay, when you start working, maybe I can only do a 10-minute workout, right? And then as you keep going, your bones go stronger. Then you're just like, ooh, now I could do 20. Now I could work out for a whole hour and I don't feel like I'm about to die, right? So I think it's a process, but you do not need all the time in the world. Start out with 5 minutes. If you could just do 5 minutes, start out with that.
Start off where you're at,
Mm.
meaning start off like you said with that 5 minutes. I'm just thinking and I'm processing still sports, even though I didn't want to just go over what you said. But as a coach is listening to this, we tell our athletes warm up. So you're warming up. You're not in the game yet. So start where you at. Start with that warm up. Start with that 5 minutes. Start with that stretch. And
Mhm.
then get more into it. Just start where you at. I love it. I love it. I love it. Again, thank you so much for coming in and blessing us with just some detailed information. But
Absolutely.
you got to let the people know where can they find you, where can they contact you to get more information and things and ways just to be, definitely with the journaling and books. Like, please give the people more information.
Yeah. So I can be found on LinkedIn, Shanine Young, how my name is here. You can definitely find me. You can connect with me on there. You can also go to my website, reachingwhileteaching.com. You can learn a little bit more about how I serve my clients in the publishing space. And there's also information in case you are, maybe you're in education, you're in leadership, you are a coach, maybe you want to bring me in. I do speaking engagements as well, and trainings and workshops. So yeah, I'm just here to be of service. My goal is really to build confidently, emotionally intelligent leaders who leverage their voice, understand that you have a message, you have a powerful voice, and you need to use it, right? Because it carries weight. So yeah, that's where you can find me. You can find me on Instagram, TikTok, all of that as well. Whichever platform you use, I'm on there with the name Reaching While Teaching or Shanine Young.
Love it again. And definitely below you guys will find all the information on how you can contact her. And definitely on YouTube. If you have any questions, anything come to mind, please drop them in the comments. We'll definitely make sure she also get those as well. Because again, it's about helping and impacting and making sure we're reaching as many people as we can with the time and space that the Lord give us. And so we thank you again. And as always, you guys, y'all know it is your girl, Coach Perry. And like I always say, don't just talk about change, be a doer the change that you desire to be. We're going to see y'all on the next one.